The New York Times bestselling book Hacks, the inside story of break-ins, breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Former DNC chair Donna Brazile is with us. Well, you pissed off a lot of people with this book.
You think it's the first time I've made people upset by telling my story? You know, I'm excited that so many people are reading the book for themselves to learn the lessons of 2016. I've worked in the party my entire life, fighting for justice, equality, diversity, fairness. And you may not know this, but I took the party chair job for no pay. The Democratic Party was in a mess when I took over, and when you have an open wound, the only way to heal it is to talk about what happened and to fix it. And that's why I wrote the book. If you ignore a wound, it will fester into something worse. I'm trying to fix it and get us in a place where we can become a strong party again that will be prepared to win in 2018.
God help us. I mean, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen. But
come on. Don't you like a little diversity? Too much Republicans are not much fun. Look what's going on Capitol.
Listen, I'm more critical of Republicans, Donna, than I am of Democrats. They're a bunch of spineless, gutless, visionless cowards, and they're a shadow of the party that was Ronald Reagan's at one point. Let me, this whole issue, I want you to go through. You made a promise to Bernie Sanders, and
I did.
Donald Trump, people like him and people like myself, just looking at how the superdelegate system was all set up. You know, Donald Trump said it was rigged in Hillary's favor. I said it. I believed it. And you confirmed it. And I want you to walk through the process by which you made a promise to Bernie Sanders that you were going to investigate this. And you walk us through the day that you made that phone call in September before the election. And you said, yeah, it was.
Well, Sean, Mr. Trump may not know this, but when I became Al Gore's campaign manager back in 2000, I stepped down as the co-chair of the Rules and Bylaws Committee. When you're in a position of leadership within the party and you take a position to support one candidate over another, the best thing is to step aside, which I did. And in 2016, it's true, and Hillary Clinton is absolutely right. The DNC was in a debt in large part because we heavily invested in down-ballot races during the midterm of 2014, plus the debt from the Obama campaign, which he did help to pay back. But the primary was not rigged. What I said in the book was that in exchange for bailing out the party, which was broke, the Clinton campaign would get control over certain decisions and aspects of the DNC that made it difficult, if not impossible, for me to do my job. It was unethical, but it was not rigged, and I stand by that.
But you said you actually used the word rigged.
Of course, because I promised Bernie that I would go department by department and do a forensic test to find out what happened. Look, the D.C. primary was not set by the DNC. It was set by the D.C. government working with the D.C. and Republican state parties. And so when you say the primary process was rigged, let's be clear. Hillary Clinton had more votes than Donald Trump.
No.
In the primary process, more votes than Bernie Sanders. She won more delegates, pledged as well as unpledged. And while the Democratic Party has a superdelegate and unpledged system for elected officials and party activists, the Republicans have winner take all. Is that rigged? I think that what we're doing now and what Chairman Perez is going to do is to take a look at the process by which we ran our 2016 contest and to make changes and make recommendations and changes for 2020 and beyond.
We've known each other many years. We've never agreed on a whole lot politically, but honestly, I mean, we've always been cordial and friendly with each other. I don't wish, I know you believe what you believe. I mean, and that to me is more important than these phony people that'll say anything. I can deal with the fact you're straight up, you're an honest person. We've actually, we've had a very cordial relationship. Personally, I'm very fond of you. But I think, but it sounds to me, Donna, like, you're right very clearly. You called Bernie. You didn't want to make the call. You lit candles. You said prayers because you had to make the call because you knew it was rigged. To me, that was, and the way you described it is it's rigged. And when you say rigged, that means that, there was with this special arrangement with Hillary that the fix was in. That's what it is.
No, Sean. I mean, I don't know if you worked on presidential campaigns, but delegate selection.
I've followed him my whole adult life, 30 years in radio. 23 years at Fox.
And let me tell you, I have 11 presidential cycles, 21 in the midterms. I've been around since the age of 9 in American politics. And while I am a Democrat, I'm an American first, and I love to make sure that these races are run in such a way that everybody have a right to vote. What I saw in 2016 made me very uncomfortable, and that's why I fought to ensure the integrity of the Democratic National Committee. But what I also saw was the interference and the meddling by a foreign country that also made it difficult for me to do my job. So if we're going to put everything on the table, I got to put all of that on the table.
Let's put it all on the table. Let me read what you say about that. You say, we were hacked by the Russians. And I want to talk about what this means for our democracy. Now, there's, two issues surrounding that. Number one, there's been no evidence of exact evidence, and don't tell me 17 agencies, because that's just not true. But number two, now we find out that Hillary Clinton and her control of the DNC paid for Russian lies and Russian propaganda through Fusion GPS, and the same attorney they funneled this money through, over $10 million. And that was to misinform the American people. That was to lie to the American people. That was to propagandize them before an election. What's the difference?
Well, two things. There's plenty of evidence that we found.
Well, tell me what it is.
The FBI notified us.
But wait. The FBI, hang on. The FBI the DNC wouldn't give the FBI their computers to look at it.
The DNC hired a firm with the former number who, one of their chief operating officers was the former number 3 at the FBI.
Why wouldn't you give them to the FBI?
We brought in experts. The reason why we could not hand them the physical computer or the system is because it was the brain of our entire operation. Had we handed that over, Sean, we would have been out of business for sure. But what we did, we gave them the exact everything that they requested in a letter that they sent to us in June of 2016, every possible thing. And when I became chair in July, not only did I receive my briefing, but I made sure that everything we found, everything we turned over, we made sure that federal officials have it. That's on the record. I stand by.
All right. Well, the FBI, just for the record, has a different story, but you didn't answer this question. Hillary Clinton bought and paid for Russian lies, propaganda, misinformation, all in an effort to influence the American people with Russian lies before the election.
Well, first of all, that research was conducted by a big Republican Donna, and when
Donna, I know, but Donna,
the opposition research. Well, you got to go where the facts are.
No, Donna. When the Republican, you're right. They first hired Fusion GPS, but that was long before Steele was ever involved in that project. Michael Steele is the agent that got the Russian lies that he paid for.
No law firm. I never authorized this contract. I learned about this contract just recently, and when someone said to me, "Well, when did you first learn about it?" On November 4th, 2016, I went to the lawyer, Mr. Elias, and I said, "Is MI6 on our payroll? Need to know." He called me and said, "You don't need to know." I had no idea. Just like last year when your former colleague Megyn Kelly came after me with a 2x4 about the paid protesters, I didn't know. I didn't control the resources, Sean. That's what the
No. And I heard, and by the way, I heard you loud and clear, and that was wrong because you have a job to do, and you can't do it if literally they're controlling all the money. We got to take a break. More with Donna Brazile. Her new book, Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins, breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. All right, as we continue, Donna Brazile is our guest. Her book is called Hacks, the inside story of break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. The bottom line is this is now an irrefutable fact, is that Hillary Clinton and her control of the DNC, I'm going to take your word for it that you didn't have nothing to do with it.
Well, I was
they bought and paid for.
National Committee in April of 2016. I was an officer, and I didn't even know about the addendum to the joint fundraising agreement.
So in other words, Hillary...
And that's why I wrote this book. I wrote this book because I want to make sure that we not just clean up, and we're doing that, and I cleaned up before I left, but also that we heal, which is underway as we speak. But most importantly, we got to make sure there's no other foreign interference or meddling in our elections again. Period. No collusion, no conversation, no rubles, nothing. Sean, we got to make sure that we have.
So I'm giving you very specific.
States of America.
So Fusion GPS hiring Michael Steele. That was the Democrats that hired Steele. That was not the Republicans that had hired Fusion GPS.
You know, I don't have a copy of the contract, and the person you should
no. But let me ask my question.
Explain the opposition research budget.
What we know,
or someone from Perkins.
This is what we
I can't speak for them, and I can't speak to what.
But you're worried.
I'm not running away from it. I don't have any evidence.
You're really good, Donna. Hang on. No filibusters. We were hacked by the Russians, and I'm saying to you that the Democratic candidate's Hillary Clinton's campaign, $10 million through the campaign and their control of DNC finances, which I believe you had no control over, because now that we know the deal that you exposed in the book, so now you put two and two together. But they bought and paid for Russian lies and propaganda to influence the American people in an election, and what they put out was nothing but the most salacious things and misinformation. Now at what point are you going to say that? At what point are you going to say that Hillary Clinton was wrong to use Russian lies to try and influence the American people?
Well, first of all, Sean, I don't want to get into the research. But you want to get into the research, and much of that research has been proven factual. I don't want to get into the research. I want to correct a misstatement. The DNC.
Wait, nothing has been proven. Nothing has been proven true. Hookers in a bed with Donald Trump in Moscow.
$10 million. Look, Donald Trump has not even acknowledged, let alone done anything to protect our election. I know you know, Mr. Trump. You should say you talked to Donna Brazile, and Donna who prays for you, like I pray for all my presidents. Clean up our election system, Mr. President. Make sure that no foreign government meddles in our election, try to hack into our voting system, and try to destroy one political party.
I'll do that. When are you going to tell? When are you going to tell Hillary Clinton that she shouldn't have paid for Russian lies about hookers at the Ritz-Carlton urinating on a bed?
See, you're reading the dossier.
That she paid for.
I didn't read the dossier.
She paid for the dossier.
I heard about it, but I haven't read it. But the DNC did not pay Perkins Coie $10 million for.
But they did pay. They did pay some money.
The DNC. Perkins Coie represented all of our legal activities.
All right, but Hillary Clinton paid. Hillary Clinton paid for it.
We had to sue to keep election.
Hang on a second. Hillary Clinton paid for the Russian lies.
About putting out $10 million because that's not factually correct.
Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for the Russian lies.
Donna Brazile was the chair of the Democratic Party. I was not the quote-unquote campaign manager.
But you told me to send a message to Trump, and I'm saying you can send a message to Hillary. Stop hiring Russian liars to influence our elections.
And stop meeting with Russian officials through Facebook and Google to undermine our democracy and discredit the candidate, Hillary Clinton.
Man.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff we need to clean up, Sean. We shouldn't just throw stones. We got to clean this up. We got to make sure that the North Koreans and others don't
Is there one bit of
use it against us next year, Sean? That's what my book.
Give me the evidence. All right, hold on. We got to take a break. More with Donna Brazile. Her new book, Hacks: The Inside Story of the Break-ins, Breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House.
Hannity is on right now.
All right, as we continue with Donna Brazile, author of the book Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins, breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Give me any evidence you have of any law that was broken as it relates to the Trump campaign and Russian collusion.
Well, let me just say this. If it was up to me, I would have sued the Trump campaign, Putin, and everybody else for the kind of hacking, what they did to steal emails, what they did to weaponize them, discredit our candidate, and try to break into our election systems. Someone needs to go to jail for that, Sean, and we need a lawsuit. Look, Sean, you and I both love our country. We love our democracy. That's why I went to Mr. Priebus last year and say, help us. Let us all do this together, because next year it could be the Republicans who are coming under attack. And you know what I would say to the Republicans?
But you're saying, Donna, I love you, but you're saying these things, and I'm asking you a very specific question. We've had a year's worth of investigation into Trump-Russia collusion about laws that are broken. Can you cite any example that proves any law was broken by anybody?
The hacking of people's personal information is against the law.
Okay, but all right. Listen, I am the only one in America. You're talking to the only person.
Was
Donna,
corrupted and stolen.
Donna,
violation of state law. Federal laws were also
Donna,
broken.
you're not listening.
When you think about the rubles, I mean, you're not supposed to allow foreign money to get into our election.
Tell Hillary Clinton that. That goes all the way back to the Chinese and selling out the Lincoln bedroom. But here's my most important question. You've never interviewed Julian Assange. I have. I've interviewed Julian Assange, and I've talked to other sources. Julian Assange is the one guy in America, whether you like him or hate him, it doesn't matter. Julian Assange has been consistent and clear. And for the record, WikiLeaks has never been wrong in 11 years of all the information they have published. And Julian Assange was crystal clear to me. It was not the Russians. You say it is the Russians, so I go back. Hey, no. Let me finish my question, Jonna. Come on. So you say it is the Russians. The guy that knows says it's not, and it was no state party, and it wasn't Russia. So I ask you again, what specific evidence, because you say specifically in the book it was the Russians, and the Russians hacked. He says they didn't. He's the one that put these emails out. And I'm asking you what evidence that you have that, in fact, it was Russia or that it was any Trump-Russia collusion. Because if you have evidence, I'm sure Robert Mueller would like to talk to you.
Well, first of all, Robert Mueller has not called me, but if he called me, I would tell him the same thing I would say to your listeners. There was a lot of collusion. There was a lot
evidence.
Of activity.
You're throwing around smoke. That's smoke. Where's the evidence?
Between attempts to discredit.
Where's the beef? Give me the. Just because you're saying it doesn't make it true.
People personal information that they hacked and stolen.
Okay, give me the. I'm going to go back to my question. Give me the evidence that Russia did this.
State law. The evidence was
where?
Clear.
Where?
That these were active Russian.
Where? Who said?
Agents and bots and trolls. APT 28, 29, Cozy Bear, Fancy Bear. These were all to
Panda Bear
government to discredit and sow discord within our democracy.
Okay, but you still, and this is the problem, and I've explained this to my audience. We don't know it's a problem. Hang on, I'm going to make my statement. I'll let you make yours. Here's the problem. We've now had even Dianne Feinstein 2 weeks ago said there's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. 2 weeks ago. And I know that Hillary said that was a lie when she said 17 government agents. It wasn't true. What we do know is the one guy that would know says it is absolutely, positively, he has said it to me numerous times on radio and on TV that it wasn't Russia. Now, we do know that one side, and that would be Hillary's side, and I'm taking you out of this, that she bought and paid for what we now know to be Russian lies, misinformation and disinformation for the very purpose of influencing an election. You're upset about Russia's influence in any election at all. Donald Trump never paid anybody in Russia, ever paid anybody to get Russian information. And therefore, when I asked for evidence and you can't provide it, it's the very thing the Democrats seem to be saying Republicans did, the Democrats did.
Said on July 27, Russia, if you're listening to me, clearly they had a back channel through his son. Why don't you wait for all of the evidence to come out, Sean, and then you can conclude.
I've been waiting a year.
In 2016.
I've been waiting a year. Show it to me.
And I wasn't hacked by Casper the Friendly Ghost. So, look, if we're finished talking about my book, Hacks, can we talk about what's on your menu for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second. Let me play for you all of these people up to and including last 2 Sundays ago, Dianne Feinstein, that say there's smoke, there's smoke, there's smoke, there's smoke. We've been hearing it for a year. Plenty of smoke, no fire, as it relates to the topic we're talking about.
But Mr. Clapper then went on to say that, to his knowledge, there was no evidence of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. We did not conclude any evidence in our report. And when I say our report, that is the NSA, FBI, and CIA, with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had any reflection of collusion between the members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that in our report. Was Mr. Clapper wrong when he said that?
I think he's right about characterizing the report, which you all have read.
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
Have you seen anything, either intelligence briefings, anything to back up any of the accusations that you've made?
They have the documentation that they did the hacking.
The hacking.
On the DNC.
Right.
And on some of us, that had.
But the collusion, though?
No, we have not.
Do you have evidence that there was, in fact, collusion between Trump associates and Russia during the campaign?
Not at this time.
Have you seen anything that suggests any collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign?
Well, there's an awful lot of smoke there, let's put it that way. People that might have said they were involved, to what extent they were involved, to what extent the president might have known about these people or whatever. There's nothing there from that standpoint that we have seen directly linking our president to any of that.
Did evidence exist of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russian state actors at the time you learned of 2016 efforts?
I don't know whether or not such collusion, and that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know.
Feinstein, Clapper, Comey, Brennan, Manchin, and I can go on for another hour.
And I can go on for 2. If the Trump campaign isn't guilty, why do they keep lying about their communications regarding Russia?
Oh, nobody lied about it.
Official who hasn't been caught lying about his or her communications or dealing with Russia during the campaign, including Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Foreign Policy Advisors Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Donald Trump Jr., and Michael Flynn. Look, we need to get to the bottom of it, Sean. And when the investigations are over, I would hope that you would bring me back on this show, because once they conclude their investigation, I would love to hear the conclusion, and then you and I can have another conversation.
Okay, but my only argument back to you is we do have evidence that there was collusion with Russia, and that is the hiring of Fusion GPS, the hiring of Christopher Steele, and Russian lies that he paid for that was used by the Clinton campaign to basically influence the American people, lie to them, propagandize them in the lead up to the election. So we do know there was collusion. That's collusion.
I don't look.
Is that collusion? Whoa! No, is that collusion? You got to answer that. Is that collusion?
Dossier. I didn't, Sean. You're asking me to disprove a negative that I had not involved in. Opposition research.
Just because you're not involved in it doesn't mean you don't read a newspaper.
There's nothing unethical or illegal about opposition research.
Oh, so it's okay if
Donald Trump had business.
So if Donald Trump, if Donald Trump hired somebody to get phony information from Russia on Hillary Clinton, you're talking about Donald Trump saying publicly, "Oh, if you have the emails, the 33,000 that she acid washed and bleach bit, and if you have them, release them, that would be the truth." But Hillary paid for lies, salacious lies.
Sean,
that's okay though.
Jared Kushner didn't turn over Russia-related communications to the Senate Judiciary Committee, include emails about a backdoor Russian overture, as well as emails with Sergey Millian. So
if that's the case, he'd be in jail. There's not so much out there. It's been a year, and the only evidence we have is Hillary's campaign paid for Russian lies. I don't understand why you're not upset about that.
The Republicans there was a big Republican donor who got this dossier started, and this opposition research, rather than going into the trash can, it kept a new life. It was recycled, and yes, Fusion GPS.
All right, let me ask this question.
Perkins Coie to conduct it. I don't know anything else.
Let me move
about
on.
That,
we're talking too much. All right, quick break. More with Donna Brazile on the other side of this. As we continue with Donna Brazile, author of the book Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins, breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. All right. Your candidate, Hillary Clinton, was asked to, had all her emails subpoenaed. Remember, she went to the mom and pop shop bathroom closet and she had her emails that was stored there, which was, I think, mishandling and a crime in and of itself. But putting that aside, when they were subpoenaed by Congress, she decided on her own to delete 33,000 of them. And then she used acid wash and bleach bit to clean up the servers. And after that, she had employees break a numerous number of devices, BlackBerries with hammers and iPhones with hammers, etc. Do you think that is unethical and obstruction? And shouldn't somebody, if Donna Brazile is asked to hand over? If your emails are subpoenaed, would you delete them? Would you acid wash them? Would you bleach bit them? Would you break your devices?
Smear campaign, Sean. Sean, I came on this show to talk about my book. You want to relitigate Hillary Clinton emails. Hillary Clinton has been as open about her emails as any American. We know more about Hillary Clinton life from the release of her emails. She said it was a mistake to use a private server. She has apologized about that. And if you want to relitigate her emails, I would suggest that you contact her office.
Hey, Donna, you've been in Democratic politics for 33 years, as you said.
Longer than that, since the age of 9. And
okay, so you've been. So I'm just asking, this is in many ways your book. You know, hacks, the inside story of what you think the campaign was about. So I think it's perfectly legitimate.
The breakdown that led to the election of Donald Trump. That is the title.
Is there anything about Donald Trump you like? Is there anything you like about Donald Trump?
As I said in the book, I said, you know what? I give him credit for cracking the blue wall.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran an anti-establishment campaign. Sean, I pray for my president. You know why I pray for him? Whether it's Barack Obama, Donald Trump, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Herbert Walker Bush, Ronald Reagan, let's go all the way back to John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson. And I pray for them because I'm an American. I want my president to succeed, irregardless of his party affiliation. I just wish today I could say Madam President instead of Mr. Trump.
Let me ask you, but do you think that his policies, do you like his policies on anything?
I think the president has to pivot. I think he needs to start talking about infrastructure. He needs to go back to the jobs that he talked about creating, and he needs to do more to bring about healing and an end to the kind of vindictiveness. When I say I pray for my president, I mean that. I don't just say, oh, Mr. Trump. I go to God, as most Christians do. I can't speak for other religions. I can only speak for myself. And I ask the Lord to watch over him because I want the Lord to watch over my great country.
Well, that's the Donna that I've always liked. We'll leave it on a high note. The book is interesting. I will say that. I didn't put it down. It's called Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins, breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Well, I'm never going to agree with you on a whole lot, but I appreciate you coming by. And you should have done my show first, and you would have been #1 on the New York Times list, but I'll forgive you for that. I'm a Christian like you are. I'm trying to be. I believe in...
You know what? We do go back. We do combat, but we always shake hands at the end of our wrestling match. I want to say this to your listeners.
No.
This is a beautiful time of the year. This is when we give thanks for many of our blessings.
Amen.
And I just want to give thanks to all of you. You're my American citizens. I love you. God bless you all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Why are you making us like you so much now after we just had a contentious interview? Why do we now turn around and say, I actually like Donna Brazile? I don't, I said that once on the air and people are like, she fed her Hillary questions. I'm like, yeah, I know, but...
Sean, our God is awesome.
Our God is an awesome God. That's a great song, too.
And even those people on the Clintons campaign that came on Fox and went on other shows, I love them. I love them because I love my country.
So do I.
We can't do this. Look, in our country,
let's make America great again.
We can do this. We can argue, but still like each other. And Sean, by the way, my gumbo is the very best in the world. I know when you taste my gumbo, you would want another bowl. So, my love to your family, your wife, your children. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
God bless you. You're in my prayers as well. God bless you always, and we are very blessed beyond measure. Amen.